Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to realize later that they were not who they seemed to be? Maybe it was a friend who said all the right things but let you down when it mattered. Maybe it was a partner who promised loyalty but acted differently behind closed doors. The truth is, people wear masks. They say what you want to hear, they play the part, and they make you believe in their good intentions. But if you look closely, their actions, body language, and emotions often tell a different story. We live in a world filled with deception, hidden motives, and social performance. Whether in friendships, business, or relationships, people often mean something entirely different from what they say. But what if you could see through the act? What if you could read between the lines and truly understand people, not just for who they claim to be, but for who they really are? The good news: you can. By learning to observe the subtle clues people reveal, you will gain a powerful advantage. You will navigate relationships with confidence, avoid manipulation, and build stronger, more authentic connections. Instead of being blindsided by hidden motives, you will start recognizing patterns in human behavior that make deception nearly impossible. Why? This matters. Protect yourself from manipulation. Not everyone has good intentions. Learning to detect dishonesty early will save you from heartbreak, betrayal, and wasted energy. Make smarter decisions in business and life. Whether negotiating a deal or deciding who to trust, understanding human nature gives you the upper hand to build stronger, deeper connections. When you truly understand people, you can form relationships based on real trust and mutual respect. The Stoic perspective: Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What does this mean? People's actions, habits, and attitudes always reflect their inner world. No matter how hard they try to hide it, their true nature always comes through, if you pay close enough attention. This is where Stoicism gives us an edge. The Stoics believe in observing without judgment, understanding without emotional attachment, and acting with wisdom rather than impulse. Instead of reacting blindly to people's words, Stoics focus on actions, patterns, and behaviors, because that is where the truth lies. What you will learn. How do you apply this in real life? How do you see beyond words and recognize the unspoken truths people reveal every day? That is exactly what we will explore. We will break down 15 key insights that will help you read people like an open book, without them even realizing it. If you have ever been manipulated, misled, or hurt by someone you thought you could trust, this is the skill you need. Now, it is your turn. Before we begin, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like someone was lying to you, but you could not prove it? Have you ever ignored a gut feeling about someone, only to regret it later? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear your stories. And if you are ready to see the world in a whole new way, let's get started. Imagine you're in a heated conversation, someone passionately defending their stance, whether it's about politics, relationships, or even something lighthearted, like whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Your first instinct might be to jump and challenge their views and prove them wrong. But what if instead you paused, stayed calm, and asked just 3 powerful words? Tell me more. It seems simple, but those words carry extraordinary weight. Instead of pushing back, you're inviting them to express themselves more deeply. When people feel heard and validated, they're often more willing to reveal their true thoughts, emotions, and motivations, things they wouldn't share in a typical argument. A real story, a pizza debate that turned personal. I once had a friend who was adamant about one thing: pineapple should never go on pizza. This debate could have gone on forever, with me listing my reasons for loving pineapple pizza, but instead I leaned in and asked, "Tell me more. Why do you feel that?" At first he stuck to the usual arguments. It's too sweet. It ruins the texture. But then something unexpected happened. He started talking about his childhood, how he was forced to eat foods he despised, how he never had a say in what he ate, and how pineapple on pizza was about more than just taste. It was about control over his own choices. What started as a silly argument transformed into an emotional revelation. It wasn't about pineapple. It was about his desire for autonomy, to feel like his voice mattered in decisions, even small ones. This simple shift in conversation unlocked a much deeper understanding of my friend's values and struggles. That's the power of asking, "Tell me more." It gives people the space to open up and reveal the truth beneath the surface. Why this works: it lowers defenses. People expect resistance when they're defending an opinion. When you don't challenge them, but instead invite them to expand, you create an environment where they feel heard, which lowers their guard. It forces people to dig deeper. Often, people hold strong opinions without understanding why. Asking them to elaborate helps them uncover their own motivations and deeper feelings. It reveals more than words. When someone speaks at length, they often share not just facts, but personal stories and emotions, offering you insight into what's truly driving them. How to use this in everyday life in negotiations. Instead of simply stating your position, ask, "Tell me more about what matters most to you in this deal." You'll discover their true priorities, allowing you to meet their needs while still achieving your goals. In relationships, when your partner is upset, don't rush to fix things. Instead, say, "Tell me more about why this is bothering you." This will help you understand the root cause of the issue, instead of just addressing the surface problem. In friendships, when a friend is venting, resist the urge to offer immediate advice. Instead, ask, "Tell me more about what happened." Give them the space to process, and you'll connect on a deeper level. The Stoic approach: Epictetus, a renowned Stoic philosopher, believed that listening is a key virtue. Rather than rushing to speak, we should listen first, observing without judgment. This "tell me more" technique aligns perfectly with Stoic wisdom. It encourages us to detach from our ego and approach conversations with curiosity, rather than a need to be right. By practicing this mindset, we respond with wisdom instead of reacting impulsively. Stoicism teaches us that it's not just about hearing the words, but understanding the person behind them. The feet, the silent truth tellers. When people try to hide their true feelings, they often focus on controlling their face, voice, and hands. They force a smile, adjust their tone, and manage their gestures. But there's one part of the body they rarely think to control: their feet. Unlike the face, which can be consciously manipulated, feet are largely controlled by the subconscious mind. When someone feels nervous, impatient, or eager to leave, their feet will often reveal their true emotions without them even realizing it. By observing foot placement and movement, you can uncover hidden thoughts and feelings that words or body language can't hide. A real story. The nervous interviewee, a friend of mine, Kevin, once conducted a job interview that seemed perfect on the surface. The candidate answered every question confidently, maintained steady eye contact, and even smiled at all the right moments. He seemed completely at ease. But as Kevin observed more closely, something strange caught his attention. The candidate's feet were pointed directly toward the door throughout the interview, even as he spoke enthusiastically about his interest in the position. His body was telling a different story. Despite his words, his feet were signaling that he wanted to leave. Sure enough, after a few more questions, the candidate admitted he wasn't actually that interested in the position. Deep down, he had already mentally checked out, even before the interview was over. His feet had spoken before he did. Key foot signals and what they mean. Feet pointing away. They want to leave. When someone's feet angle toward a door, exit, or simply away from you, their mind may already be elsewhere. This often happens in boring meetings, uncomfortable situations, or bad dates. Their feet will reveal the escape plan before their words do. Tapping foot. Anxiety or impatience. A bouncing or tapping foot can indicate anxiety, frustration, or impatience. This movement often happens before they speak their discomfort out loud, signaling that they're waiting for the conversation to end or their patience to run out. Feet turned toward you. Engagement and interest. When someone's feet are pointed toward you, it's a strong sign of genuine attention and engagement. Whether you're on a date or in a business meeting, if their feet stay focused on you, they are actively involved in the conversation and genuinely interested in what you have to say. One foot pointing away are an inner conflict. If a person has one foot facing you while the other is pointed toward the exit, they may be torn between wanting to engage with you and feeling the urge to leave. This could indicate internal conflict, uncertainty, or discomfort, even if their words say otherwise. How to use this in real life during conversations? If someone's feet shift away mid-conversation, they may be mentally disengaging before they physically do. Pay attention to those subtle cues to understand their true feelings. On a date or in social settings, if their feet stay pointed toward you, it's a strong sign of genuine interest and connection. If they turn away, it might signal that their focus is drifting elsewhere. In business or negotiations. In business, a potential client whose feet remain directed at you is likely engaged and interested. If their feet start to shift toward the exit, they might need more convincing or be looking for an escape. The Stoic insight. Presence lies in the uncontrolled. The Stoics were keen observers of human nature. They understood that one of the clearest ways to see reality as it is, without illusions, is by paying attention to what people can't control. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Instead of focusing on what's said or done with intention, Stoicism teaches us to look at what people don't think to control, those small, unconscious gestures that give away their true intentions. Their feet, when unconsciously aligned with their real feelings, are always the truest reflection of their inner state. When their words don't match their body language, their feet will always tell you the truth. Call to action. Take a moment to reflect. The next time you're in a conversation or negotiation, try to notice where the other person's feet are pointing. What are they revealing about their true feelings? I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below about a time you noticed someone's feet giving away more than their words. And remember, when someone's body is trying to hide the truth, their feet will speak louder than their mouth ever could. The illusion of kindness. We've all met people who seem charming, polite, and respectful on the surface. They smile, shake hands, and appear genuinely kind. But how do you know if their kindness is real or just an act? The answer lies in how they treat those who hold no power over them. In social situations, people are often on their best behavior when they have something to gain. They'll be kind to their boss, charming to an attractive stranger, and polite to someone they admire. But the true test of a person's character is not how they treat those they respect. It's how they treat those they don't need to impress. Real story. The two-faced manager. I once worked with a manager who at first glance seemed like the nicest person in the office. He was always polite in meetings, laughed at jokes, and spoke with a calm, reassuring voice. He had a reputation for being one of the most approachable leaders in the company. But one day, everything changed. We went out for a team lunch, and I saw a completely different side of him. The moment we sat down at the restaurant, his attitude shifted. He snapped at the waiter for bringing the wrong drink, rolled his eyes when the busboy refilled his water, and spoke to the staff in a dismissive, condescending tone. It wasn't just a one-off. He acted as if the people who were serving us weren't worth his time. The warmth and kindness he'd shown in the office vanished the moment he was around those he didn't think were important. That was a wake-up call. I realized his kindness wasn't authentic. It was a performance. His behavior in the office wasn't a true reflection of who he was. It was simply calculated to maintain his image. And this pattern of behavior became increasingly clear. When you're treated poorly by someone who thinks they hold power, know that's a clear sign of their true character. Why this is so revealing? Kindness with conditions isn't real kindness. If someone is only polite when it benefits them, they aren't kind. They're calculating. Real kindness should be unconditional. People show their true nature when they feel they have power. When someone feels dominant or superior, their real personality often emerges, revealing whether they are genuinely compassionate or simply playing a role. How they treat unimportant people is how they'll treat you eventually. If someone is rude to a waiter today, don't be surprised if they treat you poorly tomorrow when they no longer need something from you. This behavior isn't isolated. It's a glimpse of how they view relationships and power. The Stoic rule, observe but don't react emotionally. The Stoics taught us that the behavior of others reflects them, not us. When someone is cruel or condescending, it's a clear indication of their character. But this doesn't mean we should react with anger or frustration. Instead, we should observe without letting it affect our emotions. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Instead of being emotionally caught up when you witness someone's true nature, take note. Recognizing these red flags early will help you make wiser decisions about whom to trust and whom to avoid. How to use this in everyday life, observe. How people treat service workers. Next time you're out at a restaurant, watch how your friend, date, or colleague interacts with the waiter, janitor, or cashier. Do they treat them with respect, or do they act like they're beneath them? Pay attention to their reactions in low-stakes situations. How do they behave when no one important is watching? Are they still considerate, or do they drop the act? The eyes. True test is in these unguarded moments. Test this in business and friendships. A person who treats their boss with admiration but ignores or mistreats their junior employees isn't a leader. They're a manipulator. Watch for this in professional and personal relationships. If they act one way when the stakes are high and another when they feel safe, it's a sign that their true nature is emerging. Final thought. What this says about you: it's easy to judge others, but the Stoic principle also calls for self-reflection. Take a moment to consider. How do you treat those with less power than you? Do you offer the same respect and kindness to those who can't help you as you do to those you admire? True kindness doesn't have a hierarchy. It's about how you treat people when no one's watching and when there's nothing to gain. If you want to surround yourself with good people, start by observing how they treat those they don't need to impress. That's where their true character is revealed. Call to action. Next time you're in a conversation or social setting, notice how people treat those in lesser positions. How does their behavior make you feel? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Have you ever witnessed someone's true character revealed through how they treat those they don't need to impress? When words betray the truth, have you ever asked someone a simple question and noticed a subtle hesitation before they answered? Maybe they paused for a moment too long, or stumbled over their words as if they were searching for the right thing to say. That tiny delay, seemingly insignificant, can tell you far more than their words ever will. One of the most overlooked but powerful ways to read people is by observing how quickly they respond to questions. The speed and confidence in their reply can reveal whether they're speaking the truth or scrambling to construct a believable lie. A real story. The case of the hesitant excuse. A few years ago, a friend of mine, Mark, borrowed my laptop for a few days and promised to return it by Friday. When the day came, I casually asked, "Hey, do you have my laptop?" His reaction was subtle, but telling. Instead of the usual quick response, "Yes, I'll bring it," there was a noticeable pause. Then after an awkward silence, he muttered, "Oh, yeah. See, I was meaning to text you about that. The thing is, I had a lot of work and then something came up and I knew immediately." He didn't have the laptop. The hesitation. The over-explanation. It was all a dead giveaway. If he had it, his response would have been swift and certain. Instead, his brain scrambled to make up a story, buying time by layering on unnecessary details. Why response speed reveals truth fast. Confident. likely truth. When someone speaks the truth, their response is almost instantaneous. The answer is already there, clear in their mind. Example: did you take my pen? Nope, I don't have it. Quick, confident, no hesitation. Hesitation and over-explaining. Potential deception. When someone is lying, their brain works, over time, to fabricate a believable story. This mental effort often shows up as pauses, stuttering, or excessive details that don't add value to the explanation. Example: did you take my pen? Wait, which one? Oh, I think I saw it on the table, but then I was busy and I didn't really. Too many extra details, all meant to sound convincing. How to test this in real life? Ask an unexpected question. People who lie are often prepared for the usual questions but caught off guard by something unexpected. Instead of asking, "Did you break the glass?" try, "When exactly did you notice the glass was broken?" Watch how their response time shifts. Watch for a micro pause. Even half a second of hesitation can indicate that someone is mentally constructing their response rather than simply recalling the truth. Be aware of over-explaining. A truthful person gives a short, direct answer. A deceptive person tends to add unnecessary details to make their story seem more credible than it is. The science behind this. Why lies take longer to form? Lying takes significant mental effort. The brain has to suppress the truth. The first instinct is often to tell the truth, but the brain overrides this. Invent a believable alternative. The lie must make sense and avoid contradictions. Think ahead. A liar must anticipate follow-up questions and ensure their story remains consistent. This cognitive load is why lies take longer to process. The extra time spent hesitating, filling in gaps, and adding too many details often exposes the deception. The Stoic approach. Observe, don't react. The Stoics teach us that true wisdom comes from observing reality without emotional attachment. If you suspect someone is being dishonest, don't jump to conclusions. Instead, take mental notes and observe. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In other words, spotting dishonesty doesn't require anger or confrontation. Use this insight strategically, whether in business, relationships, or day-to-day interactions. By mastering the art of observing response speed, you'll start seeing through falsehoods more effortlessly. You'll become a sharper, more insightful judge of character, able to detect lies without flinching. Call to action. Next time someone answers a question, pay attention to how quickly they say it. Notice the pauses, the shifts in tone, and the details they add or leave out. How often do you see hesitation? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below about a time when someone's response time told you more than their words. And remember, don't just listen to the words, observe how quickly they're said. You'll be amazed at the truth that's hiding in plain sight. When the voice betrays the truth, imagine you're in a conversation with someone who seems completely confident. Perhaps they're explaining why they were late, discussing an important project, or sharing a personal story. Their voice is steady. Their words flow naturally and everything seems fine. But then something shifts. Their tone drops. Their voice wavers. There's a pause that wasn't there before. Maybe their pitch rises, or their words become more careful, as if they're choosing them too precisely. In that moment, you can tell something has changed, and it's worth paying attention to. The way someone speaks can tell you more than what they say. A sudden shift in tone is often a subconscious red flag. It can signal discomfort, dishonesty, or hesitation about the topic at hand. A real story. The case of the nervous explanation. I once worked with a coworker named Alex, who was known for his smooth talking. He could talk his way out of anything. Charming, confident, and always in control. That is, until we were discussing a big client project that had gone completely off track. During a meeting, our manager asked, "Alex, have you completed the report?" At first, his voice was as normal as ever. "Yeah, I've been working on it," and I should have it done soon. But then when the manager pressed, "When exactly can we expect it?" something changed. His voice dropped and he spoke slower. Yeah. I just have a few things left to finalize, so probably by, tomorrow?" Instantly, I knew something was off. The hesitation, the shift in tone wasn't just coincidence. His brain was scrambling to create an excuse, but his voice was betraying him. He hadn't even started the report. Why? This works. The brain's natural response to stress. When someone is lying or feeling uncomfortable, the brain works overtime to maintain control over the narrative, but the body, especially the voice, often betrays them. Here's why. Unnatural pauses. A sudden break in speech can indicate that the brain is trying to fabricate details or recall something that isn't true. Shaky or higher-pitched voice. Anxiety causes tension in the vocal cords, making the voice sound thinner or unsteady. Forced laughter or nervous fillers. Adding unnecessary or repeating phrases like "you know what I mean" can be signs of nervousness, often a subconscious attempt to buy more time. How to test this? In real life, ask a simple follow-up question. If someone is lying, their initial story might sound convincing. But if you ask for more details, their tone may shift when they struggle to fill in the gaps. Example, instead of asking, "Did you finish the report?" try asking, "What exactly did you focus on today?" The hesitation in their tone may give you clues. Compare their normal speaking style to the shifted one. Pay attention to their usual speaking style. If they speak easily but suddenly slow down or become quieter, something is off. Use silence to your advantage. If someone's tone shifts or they seem nervous, simply pause. Let the discomfort of silence hang. People often reveal more than they intend when they feel the pressure to fill that void. The Stoic approach: listen beyond the words. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, emphasized calm observation over emotional reaction. Rather than calling someone out on a tonal shift right away, the Stoic approach teaches us to take mental notes and allow the truth to reveal itself with time. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Real wisdom doesn't always come from what we say. It comes from what we notice in others. So the next time you're in a conversation, don't just listen to the words. Listen to the changes in tone, the pauses, and the hesitations. What's left unsaid is often more revealing than what is spoken. Call to action. Think back to your most recent conversation. Did you notice any shifts in tone or pauses that seemed unusual? Next time you're in a conversation, pay extra attention to how someone answers, not just what they say, but how they say it. You might be surprised at how much more you can learn. Drop a comment below about a time you caught someone's unspoken truth simply by listening to their tone. And remember, the C, voice never lies. Small criticism, big reactions. Have you ever given someone a small piece of feedback, something casual, even well-intended, only to watch them explode in defensiveness, irritation, or even anger? It could be as simple as saying, "Hey, you missed a small typo in your email. I think this design might look better with a darker color. You were running a little late today." Instead of responding calmly and rationally, they react as if you just insulted their entire existence. They over-explain, become hostile, or suddenly withdraw. Why does this happen? Because minor criticism often exposes deep insecurities. Their reaction isn't about what you said, it's about what they fear deep down inside. A real story. A graphic designer's unexpected reaction. A few years ago, I worked on a project with a talented graphic designer named Jake. He was hardworking, perfectionist even, but one day I noticed a minor issue in his work. It was just a font size thing. I casually said, "Hey, the font size looks a little off here. Maybe we should tweak it a bit." I expected a simple, "Oh yeah, good catch, I'll adjust it." But instead, Jake's entire demeanor shifted. His face tensed up, his shoulders stiffened, and his voice got defensive. "What? No, that's the industry standard size. I've been doing this for years, trust me, it's fine. Honestly, you probably wouldn't even notice if you weren't looking for mistakes. I was stunned. It was just a font size. But to him, it wasn't about the design. It was about his competence. It was about his identity as a designer. That small comment triggered something deep within him. It wasn't just about fixing a tiny error. It was about his fear of being seen as inadequate. Why this works. Criticism taps into self-doubt. People who are secure in themselves take feedback as useful information. They see it as an opportunity for growth, not an attack. But when someone feels insecure, criticism feels like confirmation of their deepest fears. Maybe I'm not good enough. What if people see me as a failure? I have to prove that I'm right. This is why even the smallest criticism can trigger such a huge emotional response. Common signs of insecurity in response to criticism: over-explaining. They give long, unnecessary justifications to defend their actions. Immediate defensiveness. They refuse to accept feedback, even if it's minor and helpful. Shifting blame. They find an excuse or blame someone else, instead of accepting responsibility. Shutting down. They withdraw emotionally, refusing to engage in further discussion. The Stoic strategy: observe without fueling the fire. The Stoic approach teaches us to stay calm and observe, without taking things personally when someone reacts negatively. In moments like these, we don't need to engage emotionally, just observe. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "You always own the option of having no opinion." In other words, just because someone reacts emotionally doesn't mean you have to escalate the situation. You can stay centered and peaceful while the other person processes their emotions. Instead of arguing or defending yourself, try these Stoic strategies. Stay neutral. If they overreact, don't match their energy. Keep your tone calm, your body language composed. Let them process. Give them space. Some people need time to absorb the feedback before they can respond thoughtfully. Shift the focus to improvement. Instead of making it personal, focus on the bigger goal. For example, we both want this project to be its best, right? How to use this in everyday life, at work. If a colleague reacts poorly to feedback, don't engage in a back-and-forth argument. Simply say, "No worries, just something to consider," and move on. In friendships, if a friend becomes defensive over something small, don't push the issue. Allow them time and space to come back when they're ready. In relationships, if your partner overreacts to a minor comment, recognize that, it may be about something deeper. Approach with patience rather than frustration, and try to understand what's underneath the surface. Final thought: what their reaction tells you. A person's ability to handle small criticism is a reflection of their emotional security. Those who can take feedback without defensiveness tend to be more confident and open to growth. Those who can't may still be battling their own self-doubt. So next time someone reacts negatively to minor criticism, don't take it personally. Instead, see it for what it is: an insight into their inner world. This is an opportunity to understand them better, not just their words, but the fears and insecurities that drive their reactions. Call to action. Have you ever witnessed someone overreacting to small criticism? What did it reveal about them? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how these moments of feedback opened your eyes to the deeper truths in your relationships. And remember, the way people react to criticism doesn't just tell you about the situation. It reveals their emotional state and the insecurities they're carrying. The eyes, the window to the truth. It's often said that the eyes are the windows to the soul, but they are also one of the most reliable indicators of honesty or deception. When people speak, their eyes reveal more than just their thoughts. They give away their truth. Have you ever asked someone a question and noticed a small flicker in their eyes, a tiny shift before they respond? It's easy to overlook, but that subconscious movement can reveal more than their words ever will. By paying close attention to where someone's eyes go, you can uncover hidden emotions, deception, and even hesitation. A real story, the borrowed money dilemma. Not long ago, a friend of mine, Eric, borrowed some money from me. He promised he'd pay me back within a week. The deadline came and went, and a few days later I casually asked, "Hey, did you get a chance to send me that money?" At first he hesitated, just a split second. Then, looking up and to the left, he said, "Oh yeah, I was just about to send it. I've been super busy, but I'll do it tonight." That slight shift in his eyes, the direction they moved, told me everything. He wasn't being honest. Why? Because for a right-handed person, looking left often indicates that the brain is constructing a story. It's the side that engages creativity. Looking right, however, means recalling something real, something factual. It's the brain pulling from memory. Sure enough, a few days passed and Eric still hadn't sent the money. His eyes didn't lie. Why this works, how the brain processes. Memory's eye movements are linked to how the brain processes information. When someone is recalling a real memory, their brain draws from past experiences. This is reflected in the direction their eyes move. But when they're making up a story, they have to create details on the spot, causing their eyes to move in a different direction. For right-handed people, looking right. Recalling true memories. If they're thinking back to a real event, their eyes will shift right, memory recall. Looking left. Constructing a lie. If they're fabricating, their eyes will shift left, creative thinking. For left-handed people, the pattern is reversed. Looking left means recalling memories, and looking right indicates fabrication. How to test this in real life? Ask a simple question with a clear answer. For example, "What did you have for breakfast?" If the person is recalling something real, their eyes will shift to their memory side. Follow up with an unexpected question. If someone is lying, they expect predictable questions. Throw in an unexpected one like, "What color was the plate?" Their reaction will tell you if their story holds. Observe naturally. Don't stare them down. If you make it too obvious that you're watching their eyes, they will become self-conscious and try to control their movements. Subtlety is key. The Stoic approach. Observe without judgment. A Stoic doesn't rush to conclusions based on one small signal. Just because someone glances to the left doesn't automatically make them a liar. Instead, Stoicism teaches us to observe and accumulate data over time. One glance alone isn't conclusive. When combined with other cues, such as hesitation, over-explanation, or a shift in tone, the full picture starts to emerge. As Epictetus wisely said, "First learn the meaning of what you say and then speak." This is a valuable lesson not just for how we communicate, but also for how we observe others. Before jumping to conclusions, take the time to watch multiple cues and gain a deeper understanding of the situation. Final thought. The eyes never lie. Next time you find yourself in a conversation, pay closer attention, not just to what someone says, but where their eyes go when they speak. Maybe the smallest of clues, but it can reveal a much bigger truth. Our words can be deceptive, but the eyes are usually honest. Take a moment to notice, and you'll unlock the truth that words sometimes try to hide. Call to action. Think about a time when you caught someone in a small lie or hesitation. How did their eyes give it away? Drop a comment below and share your experience. And remember, next time you're unsure whether someone's being truthful, pay attention to their eyes. The truth is often hiding in plain sight. Emotions as a window into the soul. Have you ever witnessed someone overreact to a minor situation, getting disproportionately angry over a small comment, or bursting with excitement over something seemingly trivial? While these reactions may seem like a knee-jerk response, they often reveal something much deeper. What truly matters to that person? People's strongest emotional reactions are not random. They are often the result of a deeply held belief, a core value, or something they feel defines their identity. By observing how someone reacts emotionally in various situations, you can uncover their true priorities, the things that matter most to them, the things that shape how they see the world. A real story. The defensive manager. A few years ago, I worked with a manager named Tom, who had a reputation for being calm and level-headed. He was a great leader in many ways, but there was one situation that revealed his core vulnerability. One day during a team meeting, I made a casual comment about how we could improve the team's communication. I wasn't pointing fingers or blaming anyone, I was just offering a suggestion. But Tom immediately snapped. He raised his voice and said, "I don't know why you think communication is an issue. We've been doing just fine." His reaction was unwarranted for the situation, and it caught me off guard. Over time, I realized that communication wasn't just a work issue for Tom. It was personal. He identified as a strong communicator, and the mere suggestion that he might need to improve triggered an emotional defense mechanism because his self-worth was tied to how others perceived him in that area. This was a small moment, but it gave deep insight into Tom's insecurities and his core values. His reaction wasn't about the comment. It was about his fear of being seen as incompetent in something he valued deeply. Why this works? Emotions expose what we care about strong. Emotions are like emotional fingerprints. They reveal the core of who we are and what we value the most. When someone reacts intensely to something minor, it often signals that what's being discussed touches on something they hold dearly. Common emotional reactions and what they reveal. Anger over a minor comment. A deeply held belief or identity when someone overreacts in anger to something that seems trivial. It's often because the comment challenges something they identify with. Example: a person who reacts angrily to the suggestion that their team is disorganized may be insecure about their competence and feel personally attacked. Overexcitement about recognition. Need for validation. People who get unreasonably excited about praise or recognition may crave validation and external approval. Example: a colleague who constantly seeks compliments may struggle with self-worth and need constant reassurance that they matter. Defensiveness in response to constructive feedback. Fear of rejection. If someone reacts defensively to feedback, it's often because they fear rejection or judgment, and this feedback threatens their emotional sense of belonging. How to use this insight in real life. Observe emotional reactions in discussions. If someone overreacts to a small comment, take note of what triggered them. It's likely tied to something important in their value system. Watch how they handle praise and criticism. People who seek constant validation or struggle with criticism may have a fragile sense of self. Learn to recognize patterns. If someone repeatedly reacts strongly to certain topics, you'll start to see what matters most to them. Stoic mastery. Control your own emotions, but learn from others' outbursts. The Stoics taught us that our emotions should be observed, not acted upon. In their view, emotions are not inherently bad. They are signals, but they should not dictate our actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. As a Stoic, your goal is to control your own emotional responses, but also to learn from others' reactions. When you witness someone's emotional outburst, don't judge it. Use it as a window into their soul. The more you observe emotional reactions, both your own and others, the better you become at understanding what truly drives people and how to engage with them in a way that builds respect, trust, and genuine connection. Mini Nai. When words and the body don't match, have you ever asked someone, "Are you okay?" And they smiled and said, "Yeah, I'm fine." But something about their body told a completely different story? Maybe their arms were crossed tightly, their fists were clenched, or their smile didn't quite reach their eyes. This is a classic case of asymmetry in body language, when what a person says doesn't match what their body is communicating. In moments of stress, deception, or emotional discomfort, the body and the subconscious mind struggle to maintain a lie, revealing the truth through small, involuntary movements. If you ever find yourself unsure whether someone is being honest, believe their body, not their words. A real story, the uncomfortable apology. A few years ago, a coworker of mine, Dan, got caught making a mistake on a project. Our manager confronted him, and Dan immediately put on a polite smile and said, "I take full responsibility," but something felt off. While his words sounded composed, his body told a different story. His shoulders were raised slightly, a sign of anxiety. His hands were gripping the table, as if bracing for impact. His legs were bouncing, showing restlessness and discomfort. Sure enough, later that day, Dan privately blamed someone else for the mistake, proving that his apology wasn't genuine. His words tried to maintain his image, but his body exposed his real emotions. Signs of inner conflict. When the body disagrees, people are usually good at controlling their words, but their bodies are much harder to manage under pressure. Here are common signs that someone's words and body are out of sync. Nodding while saying no, or vice versa. If someone verbally denies something, "I didn't do it," but nods slightly, their body is revealing what they actually believe. Forced smile with tense body posture. A real smile involves the eyes. A fake one only moves the mouth, often while the rest of the body remains stiff, saying "I'm fine," while clenching fists. If someone insists they're okay, but their body is tense, they're suppressing real emotion. Anger, frustration, or sadness, one shoulder. Shrug a full shrug, both shoulders rising evenly, shows uncertainty. A single shoulder shrug while speaking is a subtle sign of dishonesty or insecurity. Why this works? The body struggles to lie. Our conscious mind controls speech, but our subconscious controls body language. When someone tries to lie or hide something, their brain works hard to keep the lie consistent verbally, but their body often reveals micro-expressions of discomfort. Think of it like a badly rehearsed play. If the actor forgets their lines, their body tenses up, their gestures become unnatural, and their eyes dart around, trying to remember what to say. How to test this in real-life casual conversations. If someone says they're excited about an opportunity but their arms are crossed tightly, they may actually be hesitant. Conflict situations. If someone apologizes but leans away or looks stiff, they may not be truly remorseful. Interviews and negotiations. A person saying they're confident while fidgeting with their hands likely doesn't fully believe in their own words. The Stoic approach. Observe, don't. Confront. A Stoic never reacts impulsively. Just because you notice body language asymmetry doesn't mean you have to call it out. Instead, use it as quiet information, a way to understand people better without unnecessary confrontation. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Instead of jumping to conclusions, collect data, observe patterns, and make your decisions wisely. By mastering the ability to read body language asymmetry, you'll uncover hidden truths, unspoken emotions, and people's real intentions, all without them ever realizing you're watching. Pressure reveals the truth. It's easy for people to present their best selves when life is smooth. When they're well rested, everything is going according to plan, and they have nothing to worry about. But what happens when stress, frustration, or chaos enters the picture? That's when the mask slips. Under pressure, a person's true nature is exposed. Some stay calm and collected, thinking through their actions logically. Others lash out, blame others, or crumble under the weight of adversity. If you want to truly understand someone, watch how they react when things don't go their way. A real story. The businessman who couldn't handle pressure. A few years ago, I worked with a startup founder who had an amazing reputation. He was always charismatic, full of energy, and gave inspiring speeches about leadership and teamwork. On the surface, he seemed like the perfect CEO. But then, one day, an investor backed out of a major funding deal. It was a setback, but not a disaster. Instead of handling it with composure, he exploded with anger, yelling at his employees, blaming his assistant for not reminding him about the investor's concerns, and even slamming his phone on the desk. That was the moment I saw his real character, not the polished, inspiring leader he pretended to be, but an impulsive, emotionally unstable person who couldn't handle pressure. And sure enough, over time, more cracks started to show. His team became afraid to challenge him. Good employees started quitting. Eventually, his company collapsed, not because of bad ideas, but because his inability to handle stress drove people away. This is why watching how people behave under stress is one of the best ways to judge their true nature. Why this works. Stress strips away the act. When people are relaxed, they have full control over their words, expressions, and behavior. But stress triggers the fight or flight response, making it much harder to fake composure. Common stress reactions and what they reveal. Lashing out at others, prone to blaming, lacks emotional control, shutting down or avoiding conflict, may struggle with confrontation or problem solving, over-apologizing or panicking, deep-seated insecurity, fear of failure. Remaining calm and finding solutions, emotional maturity, strong self-control. A person's reaction to stress is like an X-ray. It shows what's beneath the surface. How to test this in real life: observe in small stress situations. See how they react when their coffee order is wrong, they hit unexpected traffic, or they lose Wi-Fi during an important call. Create controlled stress, if necessary. In business or relationships, introduce mild uncertainty, like changing plans, last minute, to see how they adapt. Watch for patterns. One bad reaction doesn't define someone, but consistent poor behavior under pressure is a red flag. The Stoic rule: character is revealed in adversity. The Stoics believed that a person's true strength isn't shown when things are easy, but when life becomes difficult. Marcus Aurelius put it best: you can judge a man's character by how he reacts to adversity. Instead of being impressed by people when they're at their best, pay attention to who they become when things go wrong. That is where the truth lies. True character exists in the shadows. People are often on their best behavior when they know they're being watched. They smile, say the right things, and act in ways that make them look good. But what happens when the cameras are off, when the audience is gone, when they believe no one is paying attention? That's when true character is revealed. A person's most honest moments occur when they think they can get away with anything. If you want to understand who someone really is, don't just observe them in public. Watch them when they believe no one is watching. A real story. The two-faced friend. I once had a friend, Mike, who was known for being one of the nicest guys in our group. He was polite, generous, and always seemed to be the first to help when someone needed a favor. One evening, a few of us went out for dinner. During the meal, Mike was as charming as ever, complimenting the waiter, laughing at everyone's jokes, and even offering to split the bill fairly. But later that night, something strange happened. As we were leaving, Mike thought no one was watching and pocketed some extra cash from the bill we all paid. It was only a few dollars, but it was enough to show me something important. His kindness wasn't about genuine character. It was about public perception. This small act made me realize something bigger. If someone can only be good when others are watching, it isn't real goodness. It's performance. Why this works. The illusion of morality. Many people behave well not because they are good, but because they fear judgment, consequences, or social disapproval. However, a person's real integrity isn't tested in front of an audience. It's tested when there's no one to impress, no one to reward them, and no one to hold them accountable. Signs of true versus false character. How they treat strangers when they gain nothing. Do they respect a janitor or service worker the same way they respect their boss? What they do when no one will ever find out. Do they cheat, steal, or cut corners when no one is checking? Consistency in private and public. Are they the same person behind closed doors as they are in public? How to test this in real life. Subtle observation. Pay attention to how they act when they think no one is looking. small habits say a lot. Create situations where they have no incentive to pretend. Watch how they behave when there's no personal benefit. Listen to how they talk about others when they're not around. Someone who gossips or degrades others in private will likely do the same to you when you're not there. The Stoic rule: character is what you do in the dark. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." True Stoicism isn't about performing morality for the world to see. It's about embodying it when no one is around. If you want to know someone's true nature, don't be fooled by their public persona. Instead, watch them when they think no one else is watching. That's where the truth lives. The silence that speaks volumes. Have you ever asked someone a direct question and noticed that, just for a fraction of a second, they hesitated before responding? Maybe it was a slight pause before they said, "Yes, of course," or a brief moment of silence before they launched into an explanation. This micro pause, a tiny delay before answering, is one of the subtlest but most revealing signs that someone may be hesitating, uncertain, or even fabricating an answer. It's not always a sign of deception, but it's a strong signal that their brain is processing something beyond just recalling the truth. A real story. The hesitant. Yes. I once had a colleague, Sarah, who was responsible for handling an important report for our team. One afternoon, I casually asked her, "Hey, did you finish the report?" For just a split second, she hesitated. It was barely noticeable, but I caught it. Then she quickly said, Yeah, it's almost done. Just need to make a few final touches." That pause told me everything I needed to know. If the report was actually finished, she wouldn't have needed that second to think. She was stalling, mentally scrambling to come up with an answer that would sound convincing. Sure enough, later that evening I received a message. "Hey, I need a little more time to finalize the report. Should be ready tomorrow." Had I confronted her in the moment, she probably would have doubled down. But by simply noticing the hesitation, I already knew the truth before she admitted it. Why this works? The brain struggles to lie instantly. When people tell the truth, their responses are usually immediate and fluid. Their brain doesn't have to do extra work. It simply recalls and relays information. But when someone is uncertain, hiding something, or lying, their brain has to suppress the real answer if they're hiding something, construct a believable alternative if they're lying, mentally rehearse it before saying it out loud. This extra mental processing time causes the micro pause before they respond. What to do when you notice it? Don't confront immediately. Calling someone out on a pause can make them defensive. Instead, store that information and watch for further inconsistencies. Follow up with a specific question. If someone hesitates, casually ask for more details. "Oh, nice. What was the hardest part of finishing the report?" If they struggle again, they're likely making something up. Compare with their normal speech pattern. Some people naturally take longer to answer questions. What you're looking for is a shift in their usual response speed. The Stoic rule: observe, don't react. Stoic never jumps to conclusions based on a single clue. Instead, they quietly gather data, remain calm, and use their insights wisely. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Similarly, noticing deception doesn't mean you must confront it immediately. Sometimes the smartest move is to observe and let the truth unfold on its own. So next time you ask someone a question, pay attention to that tiny pause. It may be short, but it can reveal more than you think. The unbearable weight of silence. Have you ever been in a conversation where a pause felt uncomfortably long, so long that you felt an almost physical need to say something, anything, just to break it? That's because silence is powerful, and most people can't handle it. In social situations, we're conditioned to fill empty spaces with words, explanations, or just mindless chatter. But those who understand the power of silence can use it to reveal hidden truths, uncover deeper intentions, and gain control of any conversation. By simply staying silent at the right moments, you can make people reveal more than they intended, without asking a single extra question. A real story. The job interview trick. A friend of mine, James, works as a recruiter. He once told me about a technique he uses in job interviews to get applicants to reveal their true thoughts. Whenever he asks a tough question, like, "Why did you leave your last job?" he waits for their initial response. Then, instead of immediately moving on, he remains completely silent and just nods slightly. 9 times out of 10, the candidate gets uncomfortable with the silence and starts talking again, offering details they weren't originally planning to share. Some start rambling, revealing insecurities. Others contradict themselves, exposing hidden doubts. Some even admit things they tried to hide, just because they couldn't stand the silence. James doesn't have to push. He just lets the silence do the work. Why this? Works people feel the need to fill gaps. Most people aren't used to pausing after they speak. When they finish a sentence, they expect an immediate reaction. If none comes, they subconsciously assume, maybe I didn't explain myself well, maybe they don't believe me, maybe I need to say more to justify my answer. And in doing so, they reveal more than they planned. Common reactions to silence: over-explaining. They start adding unnecessary details, often exposing insecurities, contradictions. They say something different than what they originally claimed, blurting out the truth. They accidentally reveal what they were really thinking. How to use this in real life in conversations. If you sense someone isn't telling the full truth, let their answer sit in silence. They'll likely add more. In negotiations, if you offer a price or proposal, stay silent afterward. The other person may adjust their offer out of discomfort. In arguments, instead of reacting immediately, pause. This makes the other person second-guess themselves and sometimes backtrack on their own words. The Stoic rule: silence is strength. The Stoics believed that true wisdom doesn't come from talking more, but from listening deeply. Epictetus taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Instead of rushing to respond, let silence do the work for you, because sometimes the things people say after a pause are the ones they were trying hardest to hide. Hands, the silent truth tellers. When people try to deceive or hide their emotions, they often control their words, facial expressions, and even their tone of voice. But there's one part of the body that's much harder to manipulate: their hands. Hand gestures are deeply connected to the subconscious mind, and they tend to betray a person's true feelings, especially under stress. By observing how someone uses or hides their hands while speaking, you can detect nervousness, dishonesty, or emotional discomfort, even when their words sound perfectly convincing. A real story. The nervous negotiator. Few years ago, I was in a business meeting where a vendor was trying to convince us that their company was financially stable, even though we had heard rumors that they were struggling. On the surface, the representative spoke confidently. His words were polished, and his tone was steady, but something didn't sit right. Then I noticed his hands. He kept rubbing his fingers together while talking, a self-soothing gesture that indicated anxiety. Every time he mentioned his company's strong financial position, he would briefly tuck his hands under the table, a subconscious attempt to hide the truth. When I asked him directly about cash flow, his hands started moving excessively, as if trying to overcompensate. That was all I needed to know. His words said one thing, but his hands told the truth. He was nervous, hiding something, and trying too hard to sell confidence. What hand movements reveal excessive hand gestures? Overcompensation. When people start moving their hands too much, it's often an attempt to distract from what they're saying. Example: a liar may wave their hands dramatically to make their story seem more convincing. Hiding hands. Subconscious desire to conceal. If someone keeps their hands under the table, in their pockets or behind their back, they might be mentally suppressing something. Example: a person who's unsure about their excuse might cross their arms or put their hands in their lap while speaking. Hands near the face. Anxiety or deception. Touching the nose, rubbing the eyes, or covering the mouth are classic signs of discomfort or stress. Example: a guilty person might scratch their nose right before telling a half-truth. How to test this in real life: make an unexpected statement. If you suspect someone is hiding something, say something surprising like, "Oh, I heard a different version of that story," and watch their hand reaction. Compare their normal gestures to their nervous gestures. Some people naturally use their hands a lot, so what you're looking for is a shift in behavior when a sensitive topic is brought up. Look for sudden hand-hiding behavior. If someone starts a conversation with their hands visible, but then suddenly tucks them away, it's often a subconscious reaction to discomfort. The Stoic rule: the body speaks louder than words. The Stoics believed in observing reality as it is, without being deceived by appearances. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look beneath the surface. Let not the several qualities of a thing nor its worth escape thee. Words can deceive, but the body tells the truth." If you learn to read hand gestures, you'll unlock a powerful skill: the ability to see past what someone is saying and into what they're actually feeling. Kindness as a mirror of character. If you really want to understand someone's true nature, pay attention to how they respond to generosity. Acts of kindness, whether big or small, create a moment of unfiltered reaction, one where people reveal their deepest attitudes about trust, entitlement, and self-worth. When you offer someone help, a gift, or even a simple favor, their response will tell you more about them than hours of conversation ever could. Do they accept with gratitude? Do they seem suspicious? Do they act as if they deserved it all along? Their reaction is a reflection of who they are at their core. A real story: the ungrateful friend. A few years ago, I had a friend, Rob, who always seemed to struggle financially. One day, I spotted a book in a store that I knew he'd love. Without a second thought, I bought it for him and said, "Hey, I saw this and thought of you." I expected a simple thank you, but instead, Rob barely acknowledged it. He flipped through the pages and casually said, "Oh, cool. You know, I was actually hoping to get the hardcover edition instead." No gratitude, no appreciation. Just a subtle complaint that the free gift wasn't exactly what he wanted. That moment told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't about the book, it was about his mindset. Rob wasn't grateful for generosity, he expected it. And sure enough, over time I noticed the pattern. Whenever someone helped him, he acted like it was owed to him. Eventually I realized he didn't value kindness, he exploited it. The three types of people and their reactions to generosity: gratitude. Emotionally secure. People who say thank you and genuinely appreciate kindness have a healthy, secure, they recognize generosity as a gift, not an obligation. Suspicion. Trust issues. Some people react to kindness with doubt, as if they're waiting for the catch. If you give them a gift, they might say, "Why are you doing this? What do you want?" This often comes from past betrayals, where generosity was used as manipulation, entitlement, arrogance. These people expect kindness as if it's their right, not a gesture of goodwill. Instead of "thank you," they say, "Is that all?" Or "You should have done this sooner." They see generosity as weakness and believe others exist to serve them. How to test this in real life: give small acts of kindness and observe. Hold the door for someone. Offer them a coffee. Lend a helping hand. Their response will instantly reveal their natural attitude. Watch how they treat generosity over time. Someone who is grateful once but entitled the next time isn't truly appreciative. They're just adjusting their strategy. Notice if they give back. A grateful person may not always return favors immediately, but they will eventually look for ways to give back. An entitled person will keep taking without ever considering reciprocity. The Stoic principle: Give without expectation. Observe without attachment. The Stoics believed in generosity not as a transaction, but as a virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not expect the good you do to be repaid. The act of doing good is enough." However, while we should give freely, that doesn't mean we should ignore how people respond. Observing someone's reaction to generosity can protect you from being used, while also helping you recognize those who truly value kindness. So next time you offer a small act of generosity, pay attention. Their reaction will tell you everything you need to know. Reading people is a skill, not a gift at first. The ability to read people might seem like an elusive superpower, something only experts like psychologists, detectives, or poker players can master. But here's the truth. It's not magic. It's simply a skill, rooted in observation, patience, and a deep understanding of human behavior. By training yourself to notice the small details, body language, tone shifts, emotional reactions, and behavior under stress, you can uncover the truth hidden behind the mask that people wear. And once you begin to see these signals, you'll find that you're better equipped to understand not just what someone is saying, but what they're really saying. The key to reading people isn't about manipulation or winning a game. It's about gaining a deeper understanding of human nature at its core. And when you master this skill, you'll make wiser decisions, form more authentic relationships, and protect yourself from deception. Recap of key lessons. Over the course of this guide, we've uncovered 15 powerful ways to see through people without them even realizing it. Here are the core takeaways. Watch actions, not words. People lie with their words, but their behavior reveals the truth. Actions never lie. Observe behavior in unguarded moments. True character is exposed when someone thinks no one is watching. Emotional reactions reveal priorities. Pay attention to what triggers strong emotions in someone. It shows you what really matters to them. Pay attention to small pauses, tone shifts, and body language. The subtle cues often reveal more than words ever will. Silence is a powerful tool. If you stay quiet at the right moments, you'll create the space for people to reveal more than they intended. Why this skill makes you stronger. You avoid manipulation. Recognizing dishonesty early shields you from being deceived or taken advantage of. You build deeper, more meaningful relationships. When you truly understand people, you connect with them on a much more authentic level. You stay emotionally unshaken. Instead of reacting impulsively, you gain the wisdom to stay calm, respond strategically, and think ahead. The Stoics believed that wisdom doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from understanding them, and most importantly, understanding yourself. By reading others clearly, you are better prepared to live with greater insight, clarity, and calm. Final thought, the true power of observation. Reading people isn't about judging them. It's about seeing reality as it is, not how we wish it to be. It's about stepping out of assumptions and embracing truth. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And when you can see people for who they truly are, when you understand the subtle cues beneath the surface, it elevates the quality of your thinking. By mastering the skill of reading people, you become not just smarter, but more resilient. You'll navigate life not as someone who is easily fooled, but as someone who truly understands the world around them. And that is a superpower worth having. Call to action. Now think about a time when someone's actions or words revealed their true nature to you. How did it change your perspective on them? I'd love to hear your experiences. Drop a comment below and share your story. And remember, the next time you're in a conversation or a decision-making moment, trust what you see beneath the surface. The truth is always there, waiting to be noticed.